Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Maratha Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture, I, Madhura, welcome each one of you to the Pune DevTech Conference happening as a part of MCCI's Pune Expo 2024. This exclusive conference focuses on defense indigenization, deep tech, critical tech, and Atmanirbharta. The event will feature presentations from defense establishments, large private sector companies, highlighting prospects for indigenization, technology absorption, and collaboration within the defense sector. To take the event forward, I invite Mr. Harsh Gune, co-chair of MCCI's Defense Committee, to please present the welcome remarks.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Commander Koshi, Chairman, Regional Technology Node, is based in Southern Command. Mr. Manish Bharadwaj, Technical Advisor to the Secretary, DRDO and Chairman, DRDO. Varun Khandare, ladies and gentlemen. To begin with, big round of applause for all the participants and industry leaders and technocrats. टाळ्या थोड्या जोरात वाजवलं तरी चालेल आपल्याचसाठी आहे. Big round of applause and big congratulations because yesterday it was really an impressive sort of an experience. Every year we see different technologies, full plethora of technologies and wide spectrum of the application engineering being put into a very sustainable supply chain. So again, kudos and congratulations to each and everyone. As industry representative, we all know what goes all into making a sustainable business, making a technology work, and of course, defense is special. So who have had success stories, another big round of applause for the defense fraternity, because it takes all the more huge efforts to be part of the supply chain. Congratulations to the entire MCCI team. Koshi sir, Manish ji, to give you a brief. In fact, MCCI is the first association to have formally established defense committee way back in 1999. It was much ahead of its time, with a primary intention of creating a platform where industries would come into defense sector and connect with the armed forces representatives. Of course, subsequently we have had multiple path-breaking initiatives, and correctly so, motivated by the technocrats of this region with a matured industrial base, we are motivated to take the Pune DevTech initiative further. Pune DevTech, it's not a word, it's a mission, it's an endeavor where we intend to leverage the tremendous strength, technology prowess of this region to be able to work on the indigenization and Atmanirbhar initiative. So what is defense? What is Pune DevTech? Pune DevTech in fact comprises of 3 or 4 areas. First, of course, we intend to establish some kind of a tech center or common facility center. Of course, support from Mr. Manish ji and Commander Koshi as armed forces representative, and work on a consortium basis where we encourage technocrats and established industries to come forward and work on what is known as problem statements or import ban list, and we try to provide solution. Second is engage aggressively with startups and young minds and do their hand-holding. In fact, you will be glad to know that some bigger industries are in fact willing to adopt promising startups, and we have been able to provide that kind of connect. Third is the capacity building or skill development, which will be unique, aimed at giving additional skills to the recruited technicians at MSME, graduates and also the armed forces, and this will be launched early next year. And fourth, not the least, but to provide a platform where MSMEs and the success stories are well connected with global players so that we all become part of the global supply chain. That's the final intent, is to provide a forum where exports can be facilitated through Pune DevTech. So I welcome one and all. And another thing I would like to definitely share is we had a couple of foreign delegates and they were very much impressed to see the full spectrum. And I was discussing with Commander Koshi, and this could be an excellent opportunity for any foreign delegates coming in to visit such kind of expo. Because the fact of the matter is nations like this who are at that scale, they need lot of things other than weapon. We were just discussing. So they don't need only weapon, but they need a lot of different support systems. And our MSMEs and industries can definitely provide that kind of solution. So thank you once again, and welcome you all. I hope you all enjoy the proceedings and also enjoy the interactions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving the overview of MCCI Defense Committee's initiatives and activities. We are truly grateful to you for your support and contributions. I request you to please welcome our guests with a memento. To Commodore Gillette Koshi, we can please step forward. Mr. Manish Bharadwaj, Technical Advisor to Chairman DRDO. And to Commodore Gillette Koshi, Chairman Regional Technology Node HQ Southern Command. Thank you. I request Mr. Manish Bharadwaj to please address the gathering.
Good morning. So, Mr. Gune, Commodore Koshi, and our friend Varun, and the distinguished audience who all are here for this, the Pune Expo DevTech mission. I'll put it in this way. So, and I'm thankful for the to the organizers to invite me to address the gathering. Actually, generally I prefer a two-way communication before I start. So, one-way communication somehow I don't like. So, I represent DRDO. I look after as a technical advisor to Chairman DRDO. My role is to have a better interface with the industry, startup and MSME, and bring DRDO closer to industry fraternity. And we all know that the baseline of any ecosystem for engineering equipment is the ultimately after R&D, the production is from the industry. And now with the new thrust by the government that we must have a Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we all are aspiring for a Viksit Bharat by 2047 with the new vision of Honorable Prime Minister. So, and defense plays a very important role in any of the economy. If you take a budget also, the good amount of percentage of the is allocated to our Indian defense fraternity. So I personally feel that what all initiatives can be taken. Let us think about it. What all are available, everybody is aware. But apart from that, I'll just go through what DRDO is doing in a couple of minutes, and then I expect that what you people want from us to come forward and deliver those kind of schemes or mechanism, so that our vision of bringing industry closer to the DRDO or to any of the defense agencies, which are part of MOD. So now I'll briefly touch upon what DRDO is doing in this direction. So as you all know, DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, is mainly associated with development, R&D work of defense-related equipments and technology. Basically, DRDO is a technology generator. So once the technology is generated, how it is to be disseminated to the industry for the production purpose? Because DRDO is not engaged in numbers. DRDO is only doing conceiving the idea, building up a technology, and then delivering it to the industries. Either to, earlier it used to be ordnance factory, then shipyards, and DPSUs. But now since the Indian industry is coming forward in a big way, we have come out with the schemes, various schemes. So the first scheme is transfer of technology. Whatever technology has been proven and has been evaluated and successfully developed, and prototype has been designed and developed and manufactured at a POC level, at an evaluation level, and it has been evaluated, duly evaluated by armed forces, then the time comes that this technology has to be transferred. So we have come out with the mechanism of TOT, where a set of designs, know-why, know-how, is being given to the Indian industry, and there is a formal mechanism by which you can always approach DRDO, and DRDO transfers that technology to the industry, so for the larger productions. Second initiative is Technology Development Fund, TDF, which is popularly called as TDF. It's a MOD scheme where the DRDO and the other MOD agencies provides a fund for developing a technology or a system which is not available in the forces or with the user agencies, and that is being funded by DRDO. So, and its funding is up to, initially it was 10 CR, now I think they have increased to 50 CR. Funding is done up to 50 CR if you are duly selected. And the statement, problem statement, is duly well publicized on our web portal. There is a separate web portal for TDF. It is available. Once you Google it, you can very well get it. And third is, whatever DRDO does, scientific work, and whatever patents which are generated, it can be given to industry free of cost if you want to utilize it for your technical work. DRDO offers free of cost patents to the industry, Indian industries. And then we have also come out with the DCPP, Development Cum Production Partner. Now initially what used to happen, once the technology is established, then we look for the people who can implement it, who can produce it for the large number. Now what the model which we have come out is called DCPP, Development Cum Production Partner. Right from day one, we identify the DCPP partners, and and he becomes our agency. He is a party to our development as well as technology evolution, and he gets that first right to manufacture those systems. So this is another scheme. And then the most important for the industry is the testing support. Now, as you may be aware, that there is a separate testing portal has come up with MOD. Now, all the testing infrastructure, the hugely costly testing infrastructure, once you develop your system, how will you test it? So that testing infrastructure, which is a very capital-intensive infrastructure of DRDO, is fully available to the industry. You can come and use it by paying some nominal fees. Then we also support the industry for their evaluation and certification. There is an agency called SEMILAC, which provides the aerospace certification for all the aerospace related product, which can be airborne. Second is all the crypto related product, IT crypto related product, we have an agency called SAG. They can certify. So this is a very important thing. Certification from the agencies takes a lot of time, huge time. Ultimately, your system gets qualified once the certification is done. So DRDO supports that part. Then, apart from that, any hand-holding, any technical, scientific support is needed, we are there to help you out. So I wrote some 10 pages, but I thought this is more important. I will not read out from what DRDO has done in the past and what we intend to do. So these are the available channels where I invite everyone to collaborate with us, come forward, and we look forward for your important and vital support to build a effective and vibrant defense ecosystem in the country for the Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your insights on DRDO's technology generator and the initiatives for its delivery to the industry. I now request Commodore Gillette Koshi, Chairman, Regional Technology Node HQ, Southern Command, to please address us.
Good morning, Mr. Harish, Mr. Gune, Varun, ladies and gentlemen. I am Commodore Koshi. I am the chairman of the Regional Technology Node of the Southern Command here at Pune. So firstly, some of you must be wondering why I am in a white uniform and while I should be in olive greens. I am a naval officer and I am cross-posted here to the headquarters Southern Command. So this is a part of the initiative of cross-posting of officers towards the overall theme of theaterization, which is planned eventually to evolve. So it is basically a concept in which the officers get transferred to the sister services so that they can understand the ethos of their services. They can pass on best practices, they can learn best practices from each other and help to operate together later on when the theaterization does come through. So what I am going to speak here today is basically about the regional technology node and how you all can benefit and harness this particular node for your own interest, which obviously all of you are here, so I'm sure all of you have got an interest in participating in the defense ecosystem as such. So speaking about the defense ecosystem, we all realize that it is a very important aspect both for economic development and for the security of a country to have your own indigenous defense industry. I will take the example of the United States itself. So they have a very robust industry. They have, of course, developed it over a very long period of time. But today, as I speak, it contributes about $1 trillion to the GDP of the country. They have an export of almost $50 billion. And they give employment to more than 2.5 million people. So that is how they contribute to the economy of the country. A similar trend you will see in the other countries as well, such as Russia, France. You can name any of these developed countries. We have also understood the importance, and it is more important for us because of the security scenario, the geopolitical situation that exists in our area. It is very important that we have an indigenous defense industry. And that is why this entire initiative was taken, the Atmanirbharta initiative, the Make in initiative, Make in India initiative of the Government of India, has also helped to catalyze the defense industry. And that is how this entire ecosystem has been developing over the last 15 years. The Indian Army has taken this initiative as soon as it started itself, in the sense that we set up the Army Design Bureau in 2014. And that was the organization which has been set up at the Army headquarters, primarily to harness the ecosystem and use it for developing indigenous products which the Army would like. Now the peninsular India, or the place that we are in, has got a lot of potential. I'm sure all of you know it. We have almost about, I think, 14 or 15 of the major industrial cities of the country are located here. We are presently in one of those cities here. And it's a hub of new technology, of niche technology development. Pune, Bombay, if you have to look at Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, all of them are located in this part of the country. And that was something that was noticed by the Army also, and we wanted to harness this potential. Additionally, we also have a lot of DRDO labs, as has been brought out by Mr. Harish. We have about 26 of the DRDO labs in this area. There are a lot of labs for trials in this area. We have incubation hubs, major incubation hubs, which either are linked to academic institutions or they are developed on their own itself. All of them provide the resources that we require to develop niche technology. And this was observed by the ADB when it was developed, and it realized that it has to spread its wings to harness this capability. And that is why the RTN was established here in 2021 November. We have finished about 2.5, 3 years now. And it has been a great journey all along. We have managed to tap into the industry, understand the potential of the industry, and harness it for the requirements of the Army. So that is what the entire establishment of RTN was for this purpose. I'll just briefly cover what the RTN does so that you are able to understand as to know what is the scope of what we can do and how we can interface further. The RTN is as a fulcrum. It is at the fulcrum of three arms basically. One is the Army, the second is the industry, and third is the academia. As you all understand, all three of them have to work together in case we have to develop the indigenous products that we are looking at. As far as the Army is concerned, what the RTN does here is to look for the problem statements or the problem areas which the Army has, collate them, and then look for possible solutions for them in the industry. The Army also has a requirement of carrying out some, NCNC demos, some demonstrations, or they want to find a certain product which is available in the industry. For that, they tap the RTN. We are the ones who go around and look into the industry, interact with them, take part in such seminars and such places where new technology is being showcased. And then we take it back to the Army and find out, link up basically a customer to a service provider. That is a major job that we carry out as far as the Army is concerned. With the industry, it is a regular interface which we have, and MCCI has been very kind enough to help us in this, wherein we talk to the industry, we tell them what are our problem statements. We also encourage them to give their own proposals, and in this manner we have got a lot of good proposals which have come to us. When it comes to us, we do carry out a thorough check of the product which they are offering. We give them advice as to how it can be further developed into something which the Army can use. For this, we have the entire backbone of the Headquarters Southern Command available. We have specialists here. We have our own formations which are specialists in these particular products. So what happens is that in case you need a specialist assistant, then we will link you up with that particular formation so that you can understand what is the requirement. Industry has come time and again to us saying that they would like to see a particular equipment to understand what is the requirement and how to provide a solution to it. So we facilitate that. We will either get you to visit the place, or we'll link you up with one of the formations which has that particular equipment so that you can go and interact and meet that requirement. Some industries come to us with a product which they want to carry out trials. Now we have trial ranges available across the peninsular India for which is available to the Army. We provide you a link to that so that you can go there and carry out these trials. And we have a formation which will carry out, will provide your feedback also, and will make a report of the entire trials which are carried out, which is then assessed at a higher level at the ADB, so that again it will help to develop your product further. So this is the way that the RTN has been interfacing with the industry. Academia is a very important aspect for us. because any pure science or any concept which has to be developed, the knowledge base is available in the academia, and there is a lot of strong academic foundation available in Peninsular India. IIT Mumbai is there, Chennai, IISc Bangalore. We tap into all of them. There are a lot of other institutions, IITs, NITs, as well as the other IITs which are available. We tap into them. The latest trends which is available is that the IITs and these big institutions themselves have their own incubation centers, which have a lot of startups connected to them, and we get a lot of information, a lot of details, a lot of new product ideas as well as concepts from these startups. So that is an interface that we do. And in the same manner like we do with the industry, we again pass on this information to the army. In case we already know that there is a problem statement, then we link up with that particular startup and tell him to develop it further. So that is how we interface with the academia also. So since inception, we have managed to map the entire Peninsular India, map the entire industry. And there is a lot of potential that we have seen. Along with the MCCI, we have also established an Atmanirbharta Center of Excellence. This is with the MCCI, the Army is there, the AIT is there, and the ICER. These are the organizations which are there. So what it provides is, it provides a central repository in which you have the startups available, you have the industry ecosystem which is provided by the MCCI, you have the academic ecosystem which is available through AIT and ICER, and all this helps to accelerate the product development process. So that is what, and I'm sure many of you can interface with the MCCI so that we can become part of this Atmanirbhar Center of Excellence and contribute to the overall theme of Make in India. I am aware that there are a lot of challenges in this entire process, and many a times I keep getting inputs from you that the procurement process is very prolonged. The industry goes out of the way to develop a product, but they are not getting a commensurate orders because of the procedures. These are challenges which are being ironed out at the higher level, at the MOD level. They are aware of these problems and they are working towards improving the process. From my side, I can say that the GEM process and the other processes of defense procurement, the industry should be fully aware of it, because we have had many cases in which the industry is not aware of such things. They are all available on the net. It is important that you understand these processes so that you come prepared when you develop a product and you want to pass it on to the army. Of course, we are available here for any assistance which you have with respect to doubts which you want to clear with respect to these challenges. You should realize that defense products go through the highest level of stringent trials and procedures. There are very strict QRs which are made for developing them, and the trials are also stringent enough. There is a long gestation period in this, but I can assure you that the defense forces will hold your hand and steer you through this long process so that you come out with a product which can be utilized by the services. So this is another thing which you need to keep in mind, that the development cycles are a little long, but again, the processes are either in place or they are being progressed to cut short them to the extent feasible. We also realize that there is a poor understanding in the environment about what the defense services want, how the product should operate in their area of operations. So it is very important that you interface with us. There are various mechanisms available which we can help you out. We can either interface you directly with the formation, or there are certain things like forward area tours which are organized centrally by the defense services, where you people as the providers of the services, you can go and see the environment, what is required, what is the challenge there. Because a product which will operate properly here in Pune may not operate at 18,000 feet in the high altitude areas. So you have to keep that in mind, and the QRs are also designed accordingly. So you have to read through the QRs and develop your product so that it meets this requirement. So this is broadly which I had in mind. I would also like to convey some of the niche technology areas that the Army is interested in, and you may be keen on working in these areas. These include autonomous systems, which is the buzzword now. Different types of systems, maybe the aerial systems, land systems, as well as underwater systems. We are interested in all these types of systems. So if you have any supermoto proposals, please bring them in. Cyber, quantum, use of quantum technology for communication systems and others. These are again areas in which we are very much interested. Internet of Things, 5G, 6G, mesh radios, direct energy weapons, UAS, of course, unmanned aerial system. There are a lot of them, but we are looking at specific products. We are also looking at good comprehensive counter UAS systems. penetration detection systems for security systems, AI, ML, and of course robotics. So these are the broad areas of niche technology that the Army is interested in. If you are in this line of products, please get in touch with us. We have our email crypt-2475 at gov.in. We generally have a presentation which we conducted, but today I'm not carrying that. But you could please note down this is our official email. You can send us your proposals, your doubts, your requests to us so that we can clarify it and help you be part of the entire process of Atmanirbharta in defense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was very insightful to know from you about the scope of RTN to foster collaboration between Indian Army, academia, and the industry to enhance defense capabilities. This event is streamed on our YouTube channel, and my team just notified me that we have a good number of enthusiastic audience. So those on YouTube, please feel free to participate, put your questions in the comment section and reach out to us. Now I invite Mr. Varun Khandare, Core Group member of MCCI Defense Committee, to please propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Right at the outset, my personal vote of thanks and from the MCCI Defense Committee to Dr. Manish Bharadwaj, sir. Thank you, sir, for having been here and for guiding us all along. Commodore Koshi, sir, Chairman RTN. Again, sir, thank you so much for being here and for guiding us all along. We have with us Brigadier Viresh, sir, Director RTN. He's right in the first row. Thank you so much, sir, for being here today. Colonel Rajguru, sir, again from RTN. Thank you, sir, for being here. Let me just quickly summarize what we are here for today. What actually began with the launch of the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission or vision from the Honorable Prime Minister. We adopted it here at the MCCI Defense Committee as the part of the core group in giving a push to the Pune DevTech mission. About a year and a half back, we realized the potential that we had here that needed to be leveraged. And a structured approach to how things could be taken forward via the Pune DevTech mission was quickly worked out by us, which led to the formation of the Atmanirbharta Center of Excellence that Sir just mentioned. That was launched about a year back. And over this course of 1 year, we've been steadily putting in the efforts as well as the charters to brainstorm and come up with possibilities in how development could happen in both innovation and indigenization in the defense sector. And in moving ahead, there's always been a skin in the game, and there's always been basically putting in efforts in what we are saying. So I remember at the very outset of things, we hosted the initial preliminary meetings with RTN. That gave us the initial framework to move ahead with things. This was followed up by Pune's Space Tech Conclave, which happened in August this year, where a very specific focus was brought on to space and related technologies. We followed it up with a roundtable session with Dr. Samir Kamath, the chairman of DRDO himself. This happened in November, very recently, and a lot of action points were discussed. In fact, what Manish sir just told you about is sort of like just the tip of the iceberg. What we discussed that day was a lot more in depth and coming straight from the apex levels of DRDO. So having told you all this, I urge and encourage all of you to remain within the loop that we send out communications in. And please do come in and participate in such future discussions. Next week, I won't spoil the surprise, but since Sir mentioned academia, we are about to unveil something big in Pune along the lines of what IITs are already doing. And this will get unveiled on Thursday next week. As soon as it does, of course, the communication will reach all of you. And a new approach to the industry, academia, user, and governance approach to innovation and indigenization will launch in Pune, and you will have one more path to be a part of this journey. So having said all of this, please do continue to do what you do best, to innovate, to bring us these solutions, and we will do what it takes to bridge this gap and to facilitate these exchanges, as well as continue to foster these new pathways for you from all sides. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Varun. To take the agenda forward, may I request the speakers and guests for this session to please join us in the audience section. We will have the next panel discussion on defense indigenization, deep tech, critical tech, and Atmanirbharta. You can have a group picture, please. Thank you. The session chair. The session chair is Mr. Harsh Gune, and he'll be joined in by the panelists, Mr. Jiten Devgi of Devgi Talk Transfer, Mr. Abhijit Inamdar of Sirinor Technologies, and Mr. Varun Khandare. I invite the speakers to be on the stage, please. To access the pictures of this event, there have been QR codes put up at various locations at the venue. You may scan the QR code and get the pictures, exclusive pictures of yourself by using that QR code. Thank you. I now request Mr. Harsh Gune to please take the session forward.
Hello, I am audible? Yeah. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. And we have had wonderful thoughts shared in the inaugural. This will be a very interactive and informal session. We would avoid the usual presentation format. And we have, in fact, a unique combination of the panelists here who come from different set of background. The discussion would, I would request interactive session, and whenever you have any doubt, please just ask a question at any point of time. As I mentioned, this is going to be informal. So what we are going to do is individual introductions by the panelists, and I would request all of them to also share their product portfolio in brief, what they have possibly experienced in all these years, and their views on the Atmanirbhar Bharat, on the deep tech, their challenges faced. After their initial rounds of discussion, then we will go into individual specific questions and answers. And I repeat again, whenever you feel like, please ask questions. So as the next decade or century belongs to young India, I would request Varun, the most youngest and the active member, to start introduction and his views.
Thank you, Gune sir. Again, good morning everyone. I'm Varun Khandare. I'm the director of the Strategic Research and Growth Foundation. We are basically a policy and strategy group based out of Pune, along with an offshoot in Delhi. What we essentially do is we study, analyze, and decipher the deep tech, critical tech, and emerging tech landscape, both in India and in the international arena. By doing so, we are able to draw actionable insights on how the technology development cycles could both be leveraged as well as optimized, and how the use case scenarios could be drawn up, and finally, how these technologies could be integrated into ready solutions or near ready solutions. To be able to do this effectively, we cross-communicate across the spectrum, broadly in the domains of academia, industry, governance, as well as the user. As I just mentioned a little bit before, we now have a very inclusive kind of an ecosystem forming in Pune, in India, and globally as well, where free participation and discussions are encouraged, and that trust now actually exists amongst all stakeholders to be able to share information and insights freely, and to draw out possible areas of improvement as well as the future course of action from there. As a part of the work that I do, I've had the privilege of serving on the MCCI Defense Committee core group. And there's a lot of work, as I mentioned earlier, that we've been able to do this year. And there's a lot that we are looking forward to do going ahead. So having said all of this, I'm looking forward to a great discussion with my esteemed fellow panelists, as well as any questions or insights or suggestions from the audience as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Divgi.
Thank you, Harsh. A very warm welcome to all of you, and good morning. My name is Jitendra Divgi, and I'm the Managing Director at Divgi Talk Transfer Systems here in Pune, not very far from the auto cluster. We are a 60-year-old company out of Pune, and we're in the business of making drivetrain and transmission components and systems. Since mobility on the battlefield is such a critical aspect, of overall sort of combat, the components that we make are a critical components and systems, a critical aspect of I think the ecosystem. Traditionally, I think in the past few years, going back into our history, our armed forces have been constrained in the kind of options that have been available in high mobility platforms. But that is changing very, very fast. And I'm very pleased and proud and gratified that our company is playing a critical role in bringing about these platforms. But I want to just take some moment and reflect on my sort of personal journey, as an entrepreneur, and the relationship it has had with the area of defense. And my very first job, interestingly, back in 1986, was in the United States. And it was in the premises of what was the US Federal Armory. The property had been leased by the founder of our company, Digital Equipment Corporation. It was a national heritage site of the United States. And interestingly, it was the United States' first mass production facility for muskets in 1795, founded by General George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. It's interesting that this, we sometimes are very critical of defense technology, and perhaps we haven't moved as fast enough. But it might interest some of you to know that the United States, which is now a technological behemoth, did not have its own infantry weapon designed and developed and manufactured in the United States till the 1930s. All along from the 1700s till 1930, they were licensing the infantry weapon. Interestingly, in World War I, it was licensed from Mauser of Germany. And the Springfield 1904 rifle that was made at this facility was actually a German weapon. So that sort of got me interested in understanding the linkages between engineering, manufacturing, and what was happening in the overall sort of defense sector. As an interesting fun fact, I learned during my time there that the first weapon that the United States made indigenously was a French musket under license from France. And it was for that time, a very contemporary flintlock musket, which of French origin, which was the weapon used by the Maratha armies at the Battle of Panipat. So, there were some interesting sort of connections that emerged out of this sort of reflection and thinking. So you sort of fast forward to the 20th century, and at the outbreak of World War II for the United States in December of 41 or January of 42, the Americans realized that they did not have a state-of-the-art battle tank. The British, the French, and the Germans were actually way ahead of them. So the War Department under President Roosevelt and the Secretary Stimson, they harnessed Detroit, Chrysler, General Motors, Ford, to come in, and Thomas Keller, who was then the president of Chrysler, did a stellar job. The United States ended up simultaneously designing a battle tank, its powertrain, building the factory, and launching the product. So the tanks were rolling out even as the factory building was coming out in a matter of 6 to 8 months. I think we would do well to remember some of this history. They did not seek perfection in the very first iteration. And the Sherman tank that came out was going through engineering revisions, as we would call them in manufacturing, every 6 to 8 months. So the moment they found out that they couldn't penetrate the armor of the Panzers, they integrated a British 17-pounder cannon on the fly. And eventually, the Sherman, the light Sherman, became a Panzer killer by 1944-45. So my simple submission is that as we look at building our ecosystem, I think we would do well to carefully study the history of defense manufacturing around the world. I've just given you some examples out of the United States. Japan is also a very interesting case study. I do a lot of business in Japan with the Japanese, and it's fascinating to see. I'm not making a moral judgment on what was right, what was wrong, but the way Japan went from a medieval country in 1870 to building a world-class navy and an army that essentially knocked out the colonial powers out of Asia by 1942, we would do well to study that and draw the right lessons in terms of course, the technology has changed, but how does one go about harnessing resources in society to build an adequate defense system, which I think in modern geopolitical times is extremely critical for a subcontinental size country like India. Let me pause here and hand over the mic to my colleague here, and I'd be very happy to take questions as we go along.
All right, you hear me? No, thanks. That's an excellent background, and I guess, knowledge you bring to the table. For me, I guess I'm the youngest in the aerospace and defense. My background is actually petroleum engineering. Worked and studied in US for almost 20 years. I was also a venture capitalist for a few years, investing in early stage technologies, especially hardware, software in the energy space, which takes long time to materialize and to see the commercial products. So I come from that background, so I think I understand that part in defense at least, or aerospace is, if you bring a technology to the table, it will take time. So even though as a startup, I want to make things fast, work fast and all, but I understand the patience is needed. So that's something trying to tell myself and the team of crazy 15, 16 folks, young engineers from India as well as Norway, US and Australia. So our company, Sirinor, we're based in Norway as well as India. We are trying to develop world's first electric jet engine for aerospace and defense. So first application that we'd like to work on is for UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles for surveillance, especially for Army or aerospace, Air Force. Our plan is to make in India Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are fully sold on. Personally, I mean, I've been blessed to work in US, Middle East as well Asia, so I kind of put the hat of Vasudev Kutumbakam myself. But yes, I understand Atmanirbhar Bharat is important for us here. We would like to, I guess, during the conversation, I'll explain a little bit more what we're trying to do, but also would like to see if we can get some help from end users who are sitting in the audience as well as outside to bring the technology to market, hopefully within a few years. The other technology or our first patent that we worked on is supersonic speeds. So we can also make zero emission supersonic jets. And interestingly, in US, one of the story I'll tell you is there were a couple of startups who came up with the idea of supersonic jets, private jets, and Air Force, US Air Force gave them $60 million check size, just like that, even though they knew it's going to take a few years or at least a decade. So I'm hoping there are some funding systems like that in India. May not be $60 million each, but at least some of that. As a startup, would definitely appreciate and welcome any funding from those programs as well. So I'll pause there and we'll continue the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Devgi sir, special thanks to listen to wonderful thoughts, and I am motivated to start the panel with more or less a strategic question for you. You talked about history of defense manufacturing, and in fact, that's going to be our first input when we do the capacity building. But from the strategic perspective, I mean, you're equally or more passionate about Pune and the technical prowess of the Pune industry here, and which could be, discussion could be relevant. We've seen how the country is positioned in terms of defense and aerospace manufacturing and ecosystem. Given our background, that mostly the technocrats run the successful businesses here. But somehow we have been focused on industries in not so, I mean, related to defense or aerospace or space. So how the technocrats or the capabilities in this region could be positioned, and what could be the ways, what could be the suggestions, what could be your views in terms of forming that kind of an ecosystem, and how do we challenge the talent here, technologies and technocrats here, to somehow work in a consortium way, which is going to be a little different mindset for the critical technologies. We have entrepreneurs, we have technocrats who have critical areas, critical materials, critical processes, but moving further, how do we integrate them so that the region is better positioned to contribute to the Atmanirbhar?
Yeah, I think therein lies the conundrum. But I would say that there's just a few thoughts I'd like to share. I think, for one thing, this is a long process. Nothing is going to happen overnight. But what we can do, as an American adage goes, we should think big, start small, and move fast. To do that, within the sort of constitutional framework of the country, it's very important, I think, for the civilian side, industrial side, to take the interest to first understand what the context is all about. Very often I find people, jumping into things without understanding the context carefully. Also, therefore, the concept of value is misstated. Developing proper insights, connecting ideas to the context, the applications in the context of our security apparatus, I think this is very important. And you can start small, at a component level. And I think Commodore Koshi made a very interesting analysis where he gave the example, a quick snapshot of the economics in the United States. Similarly, if we could have, an understanding of the economics involved in the whole defense industry, that could motivate some of our peers and colleagues, just the economic motivation to look at this carefully. But my own experience and sense is that you need a different mindset. Things, as was said, I think by Commodore Koshi also, that the testing period takes time. I mean, for some of the products that we've developed, we've had to wait for 4 to 5 years very patiently. Fortunately, the technologies we were using were dual use. So we could continue to push that technology in Indian global markets, even as we were developing it for defense applications. And then the point I would offer is that defense applications sometimes can push the envelope forward, which can have a great amount of utility then in civilian applications. I think that to do this, perhaps we also need to study other countries who are ahead of us and who have a history. So our academia needs to spend time doing this top-notch research work, not just in technical fields, but the social, political, the sort of social science side of this industry. And therein lies, I think you'll find a lot of insights. Interestingly, one of the most seminal works written on technological breakthroughs in the last 150 years in the field of defense is not by a technologist. It's actually by an eminent historian out of Yale University. And I highly recommend people read this book. It's called Engineers of Victory. And it talks about 4 or 5 breakthroughs that were achieved between 1940 to 44 that enabled the Allies eventually to win World War II. So those are some thoughts I have on offer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the inputs. I think those are really, really vital as we design our next course of action. Question to Varun from the strategy perspective or global perspective. Where do you see in terms of deep tech or Atmanirbharta, the regions would contribute, Pune, Bangalore, or Hyderabad, how again we could position as a deep tech center going, taking the Atmanirbhar center of excellence further.
Okay, sir. So thank you for basically having me weigh in my thoughts on this. I think the biggest takeaway in the recent times where it comes to developing solutions is to do with collaboration. And the whole manner in which ecosystems have evolved in recent past and going forward is to work together. Earlier, in a very broad manner, when I said that we have governance, academia, industry, and especially now the end users participating in disseminating pain points, problem areas, areas where solutions are critically required, as well as areas where a fast-moving approach, as Devgi sir said, could give us a strategic advantage over adversaries, both known and the ones who are coming up. How do you do this? Like now, it is amply clear that no single entity could do this to begin with. So those days are gone where you could have expected a monopolistic advantage by being the only person in that space. Having said that, uh, it is limitless in terms of opportunity if you go in with a collaborative approach. So industry to industry, business to business, there's a lot of scope there. With uh, you could say with initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat and with RTN being here in Pune at the headquarters Southern Command, they share with us very critical aspects of what needs to be developed, what are the areas that need to be worked on. So that right there, sir, is another approach to how collaboration works nowadays. And going beyond our own borders, regionally speaking, uh, we all know that the tech hubs now no longer remain in one place. Uh, Again, very broadly, you have Pune, you have Hyderabad, you have Bangalore, you have Chennai. Like many of us usually skip Chennai when we mention the tech centers of India. But one of the major tech centers and the role that IIT Madras has played via the Pravartak Park there, it is a game changer in terms of innovation. Now, here is where we in Pune get a major advantage. Southern Command extends to all these cities, and the headquarters is here. The RTN is based here. We are based here. The Atmanirbhar Center of Bharat is based here. So this is where you could actually, come in, have discussions with us, have set up interactions with us, and we could actually help leverage this gap where if there's something that you need and it's not available here, a collaborative approach across our own borders is always possible. So I'll quickly weigh in on something interesting because you mentioned being geopolitically aware in today's scenario. How many of you, quickly by show of hands, are aware of an African country called Rwanda? Okay, so at least half of us are. Now, what if I was to tell you that there's a very interesting space program in the making where, and this is where the real kicker comes in, that India is the enabler, Rwanda is a participant, a collaborator in the project, and yesterday we had an Indonesian delegation visiting us. So the other party which is in the mix is Indonesia. Now just give it a moment to, set in. India, Rwanda, and Indonesia. Who could have imagined? India is the enabler. The other two collaborators are Rwanda and Indonesia. And all of this is being done for a space program. Now think about it. Going across borders, we here are providing the technical backend. Indonesia is going to be the country which will utilize the application of this program. And Rwanda comes in as a very strategic player which no one would have ever imagined. I won't divulge the details of this program even though I know what they are. But you can go ahead and do your homework. You can find out how this actually came together. And this is where you, the industry, the creators, the collaborators, the innovators, have a role to play. Here's the other interesting bit of this project. This is not being helmed by ISRO, as most people would think. This is actually being helmed by the Indian space industry, the private players. So this is where the opportunity lies, to be geopolitically aware on how the dynamics are shifting, how they are changing, how countries are actually coming together across regional lines, across continental lines, and participating in these kinds of exchanges wherein the opportunity to innovate lies and where your innovations could actually get utilized into fully built systems. And like I said, there's no limit to this. I mean, if a space program can be developed amongst three of the most unlikely nations who are going to be the builders as well as the users of this system. So the sky or space, in fact, is really the limit now.
Thank you. Thank you, Varun. So, question to Abhijit, so since we are more on the strategic level, then after talking to Abhijit, then we could little bit dwell into the functional side. So you have been, Abhijit, in the US, some footprint into Europe, and you are keen to have, bigger contributions in the Atmanirbhar and Make in India initiatives. Could you share, your experience of working in US, especially this critical sector, and how do you see opportunities here in India, being part of the Indian supply chain? How would you, build up that footprint here, which would finally cater to a global supply chain, and how would you, perceive building up the entities here? What do you see?
Thanks. So yeah, even though I lived everywhere, फिर भी little Hindustani, right? So that's why I'm back to India now. The interesting things in US that I saw in last 20 years I lived there is the pace at they move. Doesn't matter which party comes into play and all, Democrats, Republicans, it's really the capitalism that works best. Technologies are really given priority if it makes sense economically. And of course, the money investors, they drive the technology and things do move fast. Since when I was a venture capitalist myself, I invested in early stage startups. $2 to $5 million check sizes were easy to give because we knew if the idea is really good and it's going to make a big impact, then it was the decisions were made faster rather than sitting on it for long and discussing forever. So the mindset, as you explained, is definitely a lot better in the US, Silicon Valley, of course. In India also, we are trying, Bangalore is trying to be Silicon Valley of Asian side, but I think there is a big gap still. The biggest challenge I see is there is a lot of talk. Of course, everybody wants to do things like US. Unfortunately, walking that talk, there are challenges. First, it could be the mindset to start with. I was giving one example early on in aerospace and defense also. For example, we are building electric jet engine, or let's just start with jet engine. India, unfortunately, never developed a commercial jet engine for civil, and it took Kaveri, was unfortunately not successful. But when we talk about we can make a jet engine here in India, first of all, people laughed at it. And then when we go to entrepreneurial shows like this, there is encouragement. But as soon as you step out, the experienced folks in the industry, I would say they don't speak of challenges in a positive way, but in a negative way, that this cannot be done. Yeah, forget the talk, the panel discussion, forget about it. But I think we should get away from that. If we want to really move forward, let's start believing in it that we can do it, and let's start talking and walking the same way towards the same goal. And rather not to be on saying one thing here and next day you say this cannot be done. Let's just continue the way we're doing things. That's one thing we can improve on. So how do we improve the supply chain for what we're doing? So couple of challenges in combustion jet engine technology has been the exotic materials that you need, especially when the temperatures go high. And then supply chain is of course easily not available for exotic materials around the world. Only the GEs, Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney's, they are keeping it tight, the combustion chamber technology as well as the supply chain. So there is a big lobby. Of course, they don't want others to do it. But by going electric jet engine, we have kind of eliminated the problem. Our temperatures go only 400 degrees Celsius. So it's the materials that we need are only steel, maraging steel, titanium, which are easily available in India. So that is one of the big reasons we are confident that we can make this in India rather than relying on the global supply chain. And this model, of course, can be, if we are successful in India, we can use that anywhere in the world where the supply chain is available and not rely on the big giants. Of course, the big four don't want anybody else to come in. That has to also change. I think aerospace industry, especially civil side, is waiting for big awakening, similar to the car industry as well as other industries like oil and gas too. There will be a lot of resistance. Of course, I come from oil and gas industry, so I know hydrocarbon industry will always try to stop you one way or the other, but eventually the change has to happen in terms of electrification of aviation also. So that's something I do believe, especially after speaking with multiple suppliers within India, we are now confident that this can be done. We are at TRL6 level. We'll hopefully Q1 prove things work. The engine does, I guess, does its job without combustion, and then we'll move to the bigger scale. So that's the idea. Collaborative, I'm really happy to see the RTN projects and hear about it. Similar projects should be done across India level, not only defense but civil also. So that will be fantastic. The other way to move as fast as US side would be not only at cabinet level, but if state level also, if the funding aspect is very critical for technologies and emerging technologies. So the support that we're getting with different funds, IDEX and all, a lot of good initiatives are there. But I would say if you can bring also private players and give them confidence that this is really what is needed, because private equity or venture capitalists are always risk averse. And especially if they hear negative things, they don't want to put their money in the long-term games, especially deep tech and hardware. Software, everybody believes, the returns will be there in 3 to 5 years. But deep tech hardware, you do need patience. You do need 5 to 7 years at least, if not longer. But if that is the goal, maybe there are ways to compensate private equity from government side to give them confidence. Again, could be a lot of things to do, but I'm not sure what is the right one that will work right away. But talking about it is a great step, great start.
Well, thank you so much. And I cannot thank Prashant enough for deciding the panels, because we have had, after Abhijit's thought, if you have noticed, we have had an interesting sort of a demographical analysis, starting with Divki sir with his usual nuance, and how US progress right from 1939 till now, and how the next generation technocrats see it as a fast and slow, and the difference. And so we had a interesting sort of a discussion here. The history put out very well, and how we need to expedite. Well, I am, so to say, veteran in the defense procurement, and since 2014, we have seen tremendous changes. I know Koshi sir and Veeresh sir, lot has to be still done. We have a long way to go, but we cannot ignore the fact that we have come a long way in terms of accommodating the private industry into the supply chain. Of course, there are two important characteristics we all need to remember, which perhaps might not be directly applicable in other countries. This is public procurement. Unlike, like Mr. Devgi, I have also been in the private industry domain, where you approach a purchasing head, he has his own powers. If it is beyond his power, he would approach the local authority and sign a purchase order and release a check. So we are accustomed somehow to that kind of supply chain. When we talk about Abhijit defense and aerospace here, it simply cannot happen. And we all understand, on being on this side of the table, that it is public procurement. So at some point of time, the person who will supply can also be someone who will accuse the system. So it's given the due credit to the defense procurement. We all need to really comprehend the situation. I can, at some point of time, also accuse of the system being biased, while I'm also a stakeholder. I'm also a beneficiary of the whole supply chain. So that makes the supply chain really, really complex. And the kind of things we hear and goes on, one has to be really, really careful in clearing the projects and being transparent as early as far as possible. The last but not the least, which we obviously as private industries we cannot ignore, is the trust factor. Now, trust is it's multiple folds. The technical abilities, the trust that the supplier can hold on to the supply chain for 10 long years without disrupting the supply chain, be it the financial problems, be it the technical problems, be it the human resource issues, which are very peculiar to our industries and our scale. Dealing with special materials, that is again a challenge. So at any point of the supply chain, we cannot tamper with material, we cannot tamper with certain processes which are already approved and validated. So these are the challenges on this side. So I think defense procurement and policies giving the due credit or consideration to these requirements are to a great extent going forward and making certain changes. So taking the discussion to Varun, since we're talking about procurement and indigenization, what changes you see in the procurement system, structures, policies, approach in terms of accommodating the industry solution faster?
So what we can basically do is we can look at it in two parts. One, some of these new initiatives which have already been launched. So we have challenges directly coming in from bodies like you have IDEX, for example. You have directorates like ADB, who are also floating PDSs directly, which are being taken up for a faster induction of a solution. And another approach that we could look at, of course, I'm not talking about procurement at scale here. That happens in a very complex manner, as you've actually articulated it well. And there's a proper supply chain and an audit mechanism in place to ensure that there's no foul play. But in terms of faster approaches, there's the challenges aspect, the PDSs on which things can be worked on. Commodore Koshi mentioned earlier about industry being able to send in suo motu proposals. So suo motu is another approach which can be taken for faster induction of technology. The way I see this working well is via co-developmental tracks or via one-off inductions of new technologies. This kind of helps the user, to basically have a look and feel at what new technologies are like. They also weigh in with their opinions as well as their own experience in using them and trying them out in the real world conditions that they are operating in. And the developers on their side get real life feedback while also getting a certain degree of assurance that what they are working on is not just sitting in their R&D centers or not sitting in a lab, but actually being tested live on site. One of the major positive changes which have come in, and this was mentioned by Dr. Samir Kamath when we hosted him in November, that now for critical technological development, there is an option to even fail. So once all efforts have been put in, and if for whatever reason the technology does not succeed, they are not going to levy any kind of penalty on the developers, on the solution builders, because they do understand as well that not everything that is being developed is going to succeed. So there are some reassuring aspects which have come in terms of procurement, in terms of induction. And again, this kind of rounds us back towards that collaborative approach, that it is because of collaboration that these approaches can be taken. It's almost like testing out solutions in a live setting and then getting real world feedback on it to know what should be scaled, what could be scaled, how, and what should not be scaled up at this time. So keeping all of these aspects in mind, there's a lot of fair play now. There's a lot of openness to how things could be brought in. Having said that, yes, again, there are challenges. The challenges lie in terms of technologies, I think, which are really ahead of their times for a situation like us. So that again brings us back to the longer gestation periods, even in terms of firstly making the users aware of what this is. And again, the users do their own due diligence in understanding these technologies. So it's not like they sit on this endlessly. But yes, there are the longer developmental tracks and there are the faster ones. So all in all, the mechanisms are now in place. It's up to us to leverage them better and to course correct as we move ahead. So completing the feedback loop is really important, and taking that feedback back into improving the system helps us. I think that is where all of us in our own way do weigh into this ecosystem, and we help make those changes viable.
Thank you. Thank you. While we discuss on the procurement and the ease, I agree, Abhijit, on one discussion, especially to jet engine. I'll recall my discussions with overseas players about 6 or 7 years back, and where we were discussing why we don't make jet engines in India. The answer, ladies and gentlemen, was very simple. Can you guess what the answer was? He said, you just don't have universities. Who will teach jet engine? His answer was simple, and this answer came from a global player. So there lies the challenge, and there is no second thought on, not just the jet engine as a technology. We were, dwelling upon why not jet engines in India. But this is applicable for most of the critical technologies, end users being defense, aerospace and space. And that's a fact. We have to, that's the bullet we have to bite, since we are talking about defense. That could be a better statement. And engineers coming out of the structured colleges, like Mr. Devi also mentioned, they do not have access, they cannot visualize or not exposed to that kind of technological requirements in their domain, in their structure, in their ecosystem. If we recall our whole engineering, the whole focus in terms of materials was learning the iron carbide diagram. The curriculum did not go beyond that, while the world is talking about various materials, various applications. So one of the initiatives which we intend to take is from working groups in 5 areas, starting with the basic critical material itself. And since the region has adequate experience in the metallurgy side, that could be formidable. Second is the deep tech, which Varun will also steer, AI, cyber security, quantum computing, and we are about to form a tech center. Third could be advanced engineering and advanced manufacturing. And fourth, obviously, the space technologies. So I agree with panelists mostly, and Abhijit, that we need to go back and have those infrastructures where students, graduates, and MSMEs would at least get acquainted with what the jet engine is, what a tank is, or what the systems are.
Yeah.
So
Can I just make one
yeah,
comment to that?
Sure.
So this jet engine technologies come out of Indian students. We have designed it in India, so let's show the world we can make it happen. When I said US moves fast and takes leap of faith, and also my personal, I guess, experience in this, Pramod, who's our chief propulsion engineer, came out of Hyderabad University. He designed this engine during COVID, during his 3rd year, final year. I had no idea who Pramod was. When they reached out to me on LinkedIn, they found me and they said, this is the idea. And I liked it right away, in a way. And I invested in the company, started the company. So if you really believe in it, I've taken the leap of faith in it. There is talent in India. Academies and all, everything is there. We just have to tap into the right one and support them. Once we say we'll do something, let's continuously support them. I think that's the important thing, in my opinion.
Divgi sir, you started off in particular industry, mostly automotive, and then diversified successfully in defense. So on the functional side, could you share some you faced? You had to do the skilling, upskilling, and for specific requirements. And what was it like integrating into the existing product into the defense supply chain?
Thank you for that question, Harsh. In my case, actually, it was a little simpler because it was a case of dual use technology. But as we sort of went from the initial design conception through development to actually manufacturing, and right now I'm pleased to say that about 500 to 700 units are all over India, including Ladakh, on the ALSV, and we are working on heavier duty platforms. And therefore, our sort of vision is what can we do for battle tanks also in future. So, as I said, in our case, the problem was not as acute. We had dual use technologies. And perhaps therein lies an insight that Indian industry should understand the context and how that defense ecosystem works. It is going to be fraught with a lot of impediments, risk, and therefore you should parallel track and have a parallel sort of line of business to de-risk, the main defense area. But I would say that that experience gave me insight into what could be impediments for the industry and increased collaboration between India's indigenous industry and the needs of our defense system. I would say that one of the areas that we need to spend more time discussing and planning. And I would submit that one of the areas we need to be extremely careful on is a clear line of sight on the supply chain. Because I find that our industry is surprisingly, at the highest corporate levels, I might add, extremely naive about geopolitics. And if you overlook some of the realities, you could land yourself and the application that is critically dependent on you in grief. I say this because, well, there's the China factor. But there is also a subtle, insidious sanction regime that is prevailing in the world today. And it is a legacy of the systems that were imposed in the world post-World War II, when the United States did not want, the militaristic history of Japan and Germany repeating. And some of those, the instrumentality of implementing those policies persist to this day, when the geopolitics of the world has completely changed. In 1947, India was not a heavyweight. Today, the reality is that whether it's the Quad or the United Nations peacekeeping force, if you remove India, there's nothing. India is the largest contributor of troops, officers to the United Nations peacekeeping. Despite that, okay, and I'll tell you a personal experience. One of the areas that India is critically dependent on for imports is machine tools. Sadly, the country, and in all the narrative and the expositions that I see, I do not see enough analysis and commentary on the status of our machine tool industry. Okay? Without a strong, robust machine tool industry, take it from me, we will never realize the vision in its true intent of Atmanirbharta. Because if one of the first things the United States did in the early 40s, or late 30s actually, was they put sanctions and they stopped exporting machine tools to Japan to cripple Japan's defense industry. Okay? Today, it is a reality, and I want to take the opportunity of this platform and the interaction with the RTN to have this message communicated, perhaps through our diplomatic channels, that India must stand up and reason, argue, and negotiate the removal of what I consider are subtle sanctions on our private industry from countries like Germany, Japan, South Korea. who are considered our strategic allies, but they obtrude and intrude into the sovereignty of our country and make people like us give undertakings to their ministries of industry that we shall not use this equipment. Well, they use the phraseology weapons of mass destruction. But I can tell you that after we launched our products on the ALSV for the Indian Army, a particular Japanese company that shall remain anonymous insisted that we explain to them what we were doing in the area of defense. And they refused to provide a certain service initiative till we had properly explained this to them. I want to bring to the attention of the RTN that we have written up this case and sent it to the PMO. And I want to pursue this to its logical end, because if this regime persists, no matter what you do, we cannot build a machine tool industry overnight right now. And the ability to indigenously produce critical parts of ships, aircraft, and things like future battle tanks depends on our access to machine tools from companies and from countries that we consider as our natural allies and partners. But because of the legacy of an old sort of colonial construct, this sort of thing, it's hidden, it's very subtle, and therefore extremely insidious. And therefore I would request the RTN and our colleagues from the forces to take cognizance of this, and that we remove this impediment. And this is what I mean. So sort of summarizing what I'm trying to say, it's extremely important that as we work together with industry, that there is some arm of the procuring faction of the defense forces that asks the private industry that is working on this to provide you a clear line of sight on the supply chain, both in terms of capital equipment and in the components, because like somebody said here, no one company today can do everything. So I can tell you that the parts we supply, they have a lot of Korean content. The control unit comes from the United States, but it's a Japanese company in the United States. The sensors come from Korea. So I would say that please pay attention to the supply chain, so that in the event, God forbid, if there is an untoward eventuality, that our adversary cannot interdict those supply chains. This is extremely important. So there are many more such examples, but I will just conclude with this one. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I think although we are having a wonderful discussion and interactions, I need to share with the panelists that Prashant just sent a note saying we have had good discussions, but we need to go back and produce for the country. So I would just request a quick 1-minute summary each, starting from Abhijit, and then we could take some questions. Just 1 minute.
Sure, no, appreciate the opportunity for me to be here and discuss about Sirinor and our ambitions and aspirations. I would be happy to go into more details on technical side with whoever is interested. I am based in Pune as well as Bangalore, and I would love to, of course, follow up on the RTN projects if we can. One thing that you may be not aware, everybody, but India and Norway has signed a historic trade agreement, one of a kind in EFTA. So being Norwegian Indian, hopefully that doesn't hinder anything. I would encourage all the startups or anybody who has the new ideas here to not to shy away from all the challenges that you see in India. I've seen after 1 year, India has improved quite a bit, even though I said few things comparing to US. Yes, we're not there yet, but significant improvements. And I do believe Atmanirbhar Bharat projects and anything that's happening in India is the future, especially aviation, aerospace industry. We are the 3rd largest consumers of that. So why not become one of the top manufacturers as well? So I would leave it with that, and thank you so much again.
Yeah, I cannot adequately express my appreciation and thanks to the Maratha Chamber and to the Southern Command for this initiative. You know, a few years ago, it was unthinkable for us to have the opportunity to interact with senior officers of our forces and have sort of frank, candid exchange of thoughts and ideas. And this is an invaluable, precious opportunity that's been given to us. So a very big thank you to the RTN. Thank you so much.
So my takeaways from our discussion today and sort of like the actionable insight points would be, as Mr. Devgi said, dual use cases. And I have personally also been an advocate of this for the longest time. Defense solution gestation periods are long, terribly long at times. And it is what it is. It's really no one's fault. Of course, there are efforts being made on all sides to optimize this process and to reduce the durations, but it cannot happen overnight. And it is, you know, it's like, it's an ongoing process. It is still in the making. In the meantime, dual use is what can help you with, very specifically with your cash flow problems as you run a business. So dual use, and just breaking it down quickly for all of you. I tend to have this discussion time and again with people that even within the military domain, you have solutions for combat and for non-combatant situations. It's not always, you know, a hard and fast to only think of combat-oriented solutions. So you can look at a slight extension of this dual-use aspect this way as well. So that is one major factor which you can go back with. Again, geopolitical awareness for business owners, entrepreneurs. This is something that could be a game changer. Of course, people like us are around to help give you specific insights on this. So this is a big thing. And to my friend Abhijit, so he's absolutely right that when it comes to financing of new innovations, new technologies, we are not there yet. We want to be there. Having said that, I think as a country and as a traditionally conservative economy and as being conservative spenders in India, we don't have that kind of risk-taking ability, which is changing and changing fast. So VCs and VC funds that are opening up now are slowly but surely moving up and opening up their, you know, their pockets, and they're expanding the sizes of the funding that they provide. So again, this is happening. It's an ongoing process, won't happen overnight. But these are the positive changes which are in the making, and you can all be aware of this and, you know, kind of keep these in mind as we move forward in this journey.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. All the panelists had wonderful discussions. Just two questions if someone wants to ask. You can later, you know, interact with the panelists. Just two questions. Yeah.
Hello. I just want to ask how big would be the defense sector in the next 10 years, like in the indigenization and the privatization? Any sector, I mean, coming to defense or agri-tech.
I think if you use the United States
Yeah,
as
exactly,
a reference, it could be anywhere from 5 to 7% of GDP.
And what advice would you give to like the young people who are in the, like me, I'm working in the private sector right now, but I would like to, you know, I want to be part of this upcoming change that's going to happen. As you said, as America or else. What would the advice would you give to me or anyone who's here who wants to be part of this?
Tough question to answer, but my first thought would be study companies that are aligning in the defense sector.
Okay.
There are many of them like Tata, Mahindra, Larsen & Toubro, JSW, and you'd find your way.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure we would have more questions.
Last question.
Okay.
This last question. No, only one. Then you can ask.
The panel would be around lunch as well, so we could definitely interact with them.
Those will be the last question.
Varun, it's for you specifically. You said there is a lot of
Okay, so the one which is already in the works, which is already functional, is via the Atmanirbharta Center of Excellence Pune, which is the collaborative effort between RTN Southern Command, MCCI, SRGF, ICER, and AIT, Army Institute of Technology. So ICER and AIT both are direct partners in this academia industry collaboration. So these two are in place already. The next week, now that I have Sir's go ahead on this, we are launching a similar kind of center of excellence with the Symbiosis Skills and Professional University. So that they will again form a part of this industry academia collaboration. Independent of this, there are independent centers of excellences running at COEP, has at least 2 of them which actively work on this charter. So bringing the sum total to at least 5 odd academic institutions around Pune at this stage that we are aware of, and 3 that we are directly working with in this charter. So, and this charter is expanding. I mean, very soon, in January, in fact, there'll be another center of excellence which will be launching at Ferguson College as a part of the Deccan Education Society. This one is actually going to look into the geospatial applications very specifically and in the areas of remote sensing. So these very specific kind of COEs are coming up to help you get involved and to map out what you could bring to the table as technology builders and providers.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, a very enriching discussion on different aspects of this topic, and the panel touched upon so many facets of indigenization, procurement, and technology. As a token of gratitude, I request Mr. Harsh Gune to please felicitate our speakers. We could utilize the space in the front, please. Mr. Jiten Devgi of Devgi Talk Transfer. To Mr. Abhijit Inamdar, Sirinor Technologies. Of course, to our very own Varun Khandare. And we would also like to thank Mr. Harsh Gune. I request Mr. Prashant Zogrekar to please felicitate and thank Mr. Gune for all his support and contribution. And a group picture, please, to all the panelists. Thank you so much. Up next, we have a Meet the Buyer session, which is an opportunity for all of us to hear large private sector companies about their processes, collaboration opportunities, quality norms, and so many things. I invite on stage Mr. Praveen Kumar K, Assistant General Manager of Bharat Earth Movers Limited.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Praveen Kumar, Assistant General Manager from BEML, Pune. I'll just, before I start anything, I should thank Maratha Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture for giving BEML an opportunity to present here. I'll first give the introduction and insights of BEML. What is BEML? What is it doing today? And finally, I would, what I require from the industry, I will just go into that insights. To start with, BEML was formed on 11th May 1964. It is having more than 50 years of experience in heavy engineering industry. And we started off with rail products, and in the beginning at 1964, diversified itself into mining and construction equipments, mining products, and construction equipments, defense, and aerospace. We hover around 4,000 crores every year in sales of products. Our journey so far has been like this. We started off in 1964, and today we are here at 2024. We have manufactured a 1,500 HP engine for main battle tanks, which is under trials at USA. This is our global presence. Today we are in Latin America, North America, Europe, and Middle East, everywhere. This is our support services. These are our manufacturing units. We have 4, 3 in Karnataka and 1 in Kerala. Whereas we have got all district offices and regional offices, support services, activity centers all over. You can see here, there is one red in Pune. I don't know why it is in red. That is headed by myself. It's a spare parts depot in COD Dev Road. See, we have 13 strategic business units. To start, these are the under 3 verticals, we have got 13 strategical business units. And these are the SBUs which are separately operated by SBU heads. Our key strengths, we have a diverse business portfolio. As I said, we are into rail and metro. We are manufacturer of metro trains also. And we have got a very good R&D facility, state-of-the-art R&D facility. And we have got strong academic support from IIT and IIMs. And technology partnership with some global partners like ROTEM and all. And we have all over India. We are present in all over India, as I showed you in the previous slide. And we have manufactured the first 1,500 HP engine, MBT Arjun engine. We are also into the, we have already rolled out one set of Vande Bharat sleeper trains also. And apart from this, we have got a biggest mining equipments like 205-ton dump trucks and rope shovels and 180-ton electric excavators. These are the major products manufactured by BEML. As you see, there is a lot of variants. These are the we already manufactured and rolled out. We are into this aggregates also for BMP tanks. Like we have got BMP transmissions, ejector and air cleaner, and the T-72 hull for T-72. We also manufactured armored recovery and repair vehicle. This is a year on year, we have vendor registration with us. There is, of course, there are additions and deletions every year because of the takers. This is MSME's procurement data, just for your knowledge. What are the category of items we are buying from the vendor? There are about 14 categories we have earmarked. And as you see, there are aggregates also in this. We are looking for aggregates, electrical components, fabrication, composite materials, forgings, castings, all these things. And we are into Udyam registration. This Udyam registration will, if you are in Udyam registration, it will help you in a lot of things. And there is a lot of government support which has been given in Udyam. Coming to GEM, you all know where everything is going on GEM. And today we are also signing a MOU with ministry as we reach that GEM. You can see from this graph, till now we have reached about 1366 crores on GEM. This is the present indigenization levels in the products what we are being manufacturing. And as you see, there is some 90%, 92% in doses and all. In defense and aerospace, indigenization level is this much. This is what, based on every product. And as you see there are some indigenization 100%, but we are looking for a second vendor, third vendor, who will support us. Capacity constraint is there. So we are looking for a second or third line of support. So that is why we have been showing that in this. This is the metro, rail and metro train indigenization level. As you see, this is Mumbai Metro, we have supplied driverless cars. There it is 64% indigenization. And in Kolkata Metro, we have got 71% indigenization. Now, what are we looking for in indigenization for further production of our products is, I'm just giving a small list of items. This is not the end to it. Just look into it. This is metro rail gearbox. We are looking for it. A battery system. These are the components, smaller components, which we are looking into. This is vertical dumper and stringer connection, female plug. And these are saloon panels we are looking into for metro. This is 140 engine, 140 cylinder engine. This we are looking into the piston. We are looking for the pistons and electronic governor. This is twin cylinder compressor. We are looking for it. Indigenization. Then electronic control units. This is one steering booster we are looking for. Some fuel pumps. Switch battery relay. This Srijan port and indigenization, we are regularly on it, and we are positive indigenization list, we are floating on it. And as of now, we have put up 4 positive indigenization list, and this is the indigenized level, what we have achieved, and yet to be indigenized is still there in the Srijan portal. Anybody can visit and look into it. Some of the major items in the Srijan portal belong to these products, like high mobility 12x12 vehicle, armored vehicle, 1500 HP engine, and this armored recovery vehicle. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. The step is towards 100% indigenization. Always there is a step towards 100% indigenization. No, metro, we are manufacturing the complete train. We have supplied so far, we call it a car. We have supplied about 900 cars to Delhi Metro, and there are about 300 odd cars to Kolkata Metro, and 150 cars to Jaipur Metro, and another 250 cars to Bangalore Metro. Apart from this, driverless metro cars to Mumbai, we already supplied 250 cars. No, it depends on the availability of the items. If already it is a proven item within India, we go in for a limited tender. And if it is a still an open item, we go for a global tender. So there lies the competition. The complete assembly is in-house only. As a component, we require some items which we are buying from outside. And especially in defense, we are not manufacturing any components. We are getting into the assembly part of it, testing and clearance. These are the products. We do manufacture an engine, and some components of engine we are manufacturing in-house, but not all of them. For example, if I take a governor, I am not manufacturing a governor. BEML is not manufacturing governor, but governor is bought from Bosch and assembled in our engine. So that way it goes. Any industry, definitely it will not do 100% manufacturing. I can give you a single point of contact. I can share with you after this session. Any other questions? Yeah, please. It depends on the product. It depends on the product. Sorry, I could not get you.
Let's say it's a shelter, right? DG shelter.
DG shelter.
Yeah, DG shelter.
Okay.
Let's say it's a 40 feet or 20 feet. So who all are your testing partners for that?
DG shelter is manufactured by our own.
I'm talking about who all are your testing partners. Like from where are you doing the testing of compliance?
Compliance testing we are doing in ARI.
Okay.
And we are also doing in case of 1500 HP, we are doing in USA, some firm, UK. What is it? Ranka.
Actually, I want your contact number and I'll discuss something.
Definitely, I'll share with you after this session.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. It is being used. It is being used. Yeah. In that case, I can give you a contact number whom you can contact. After this session, I can definitely give you a contact. That's all. Thank you so much. Again, I thank Maratha Chamber of Commerce for giving me an opportunity for this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful and informative presentation. To thank sir, I invite Mr. Prashant Jogrekar, Director MCCI, to please felicitate him with a memento. We heard Mr. Praveen Kumar K, Assistant General Manager, Defense Spare Parts at BEML Limited. Now I invite Wing Commander Pratish Mishra, Indigenization Team, 9 Base Repair Depot, Indian Air Force.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Wing Commander Pratish Mishra from 9 BRD Air Force Station, Pune. So in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I would be talking to you about the indigenization requirements of 9 BRD Pune as such, and also would like to cover some aspects on other requirements from other base repair depots of Indian Air Force, pan-India. I know it's the last session and you all might be waiting for your lunch. So I'll try to keep it short, simple, crisp, and bang on to the requirements that we have. Okay, I'll be covering my presentation on the following sequence. I'll be talking about the categories of indigenization in Indian Air Force, the process of indigenization, the challenges. Of course, if I'm giving you challenges, I'll give you solutions to it and how we want you to approach our problems. Lots of you keep asking what is the process of registering vendors at Air Force. I'll be giving you a brief on that. I'll talk about the main and most interesting part that you all want to hear, that the future opportunities we have for you, and the way ahead, and before I conclude. So just a brief, we are in line with the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission, in line with the Government of India. The impetus on indigenization started off because of the breakdown of USSR, and the initial focus was on critical requirements. Now it has shifted to even basic requirements. And then subsequently we have graduated through industry into the manufacturing of LRUs. And as you are aware, HAL OEM fleet has been indigenized majorly through HAL and BEL. As on date, we have got 700 plus vendors registered with us, but we require many more. The indigenization requirements are updated on a weekly basis on the website www.indianairforce.nic.in. The BRDs of Air Force are located at diverse locations. I know lots of you might have come from outstation also. So we have a BRD over here at Pune. We have one in Delhi. We have one in Calcutta. We have one in Nasik. So depending on the aircraft we are dealing with, we have distributed BRDs pan-India. Till date, more than 50,000 items have been indigenized. And presently, you all aware with respect to Russia and Ukraine wars in the past 3 years nearly. So now the impetus on indigenization in Indian Air Force has increased manifold, because Indian Air Force was heavily dependent on Russia and Ukraine with respect to our requirements. Our inventory is till date around 70% Russian and Ukrainian, of course. But because of this war, we are suffering a lot in terms of our intake coming from Russia and Ukraine, which has nearly stopped. So that's why we're looking at the private industry to help us out. And subsequently, of course, you all are aware about Israelis also. That war has also resulted in all our pods with respect to LDP, that's a laser designation pod, and other pods which were coming from Israel. They have also stopped coming since the past 1 year. So basic categories that we follow is a macro system, a subsystem level, and a sustenance of aircraft fleet and systems. Talking about the macro system, these are long-term perspective plans which Air Force sees, and this is based on air staff qualitative requirement. Some examples are the Tejas aircraft, Kaveri engine, which we are trying to again restart, the Rohini radar, and the Akash missile system. Then we have the subsystem level. The subsystem level is basically designed and developed and manufactured within the country. That is through you all, through the industry. The success has been achieved with active participation from DRDO, the PSUs, and the private industry. Some of the examples are the radar warning receiver, the countermeasure dispensing system, some of the mission computers of Su-30s, the radio sets, the IFF, the multifunctional displays for Mi-17s, the rate gyros, the GPS and VHF antenna, and anti-collision lights for the Hawk aircraft. And third category is the sustenance of the aircraft fleet. This is basically dealing with the MRO facilities, that's the maintenance, repair, and overall. This is challenging because of the obsolescence issues and our dependence on the OEM. This is where actually the maximum opportunities are there for the industry. Just in a nutshell, how does the indigenization process work in Indian Air Force? We have a user section who transfers this entire thing to the indigenization cell. Then we have a quality assurance team, and then we have a certifying agency. And finally, the indigenization product gets delivered. Basically, first of all, we publish an EOI, that's an expression of interest, based on which we request industries to come and have a look at the products we want to get indigenized. Then we get some budgetary proposals from them, which is non-obligatory in nature. Then we start off with the AON sanction, that's an acceptance of necessity. Then we publish the e-tender on GEM. This is a two-bid system. First, we have the tech evaluation of all the bids, and subsequently, we open the bids, commercial bids of only those firms who are technically qualified and have technically passed. Finally, we reach a decision of the lowest bidder. We follow that up with the price negotiation committee and get the expenditure angle sanction approved. And finally, place the development order. Then the industry, within the stipulated time frame, submits the prototype to us. We carry out the functional testing of the same, the documentation. We give a local certification number, which is identified pan-Indian Air Force across all bases in India. Based on that LC number, for the next 5 years, all the supply orders of that particular item will be placed to that industry partner only. Subsequently, there's a payment action, and in case after 5 years, if the requirement exists, then we go in for a revalidation of the local certification number for another 3 to 5 years. And that process can continue depending on the requirement of the item and, of course, the support from the industry partner. Coming to the certification agency, like certain items we have, they are critical in nature. There are actually basically 4 categories of items: critical, non-critical, standard, non-standard. So wherever there is a critical item and which is non-standard in nature, then we approach CEMILAC, which certifies all the airborne systems and of critical in nature. For all the ground systems, we at BRD, we are the certifying agency for all ground systems. For only the critical and non-standard part, we have to go through CEMILAC. For the other 3, critical standard, non-critical, non-standard, the base report depot itself is the certifying agency for the prototype submitted by the industry. Now, some of the challenges that we have in indigenization is with respect to the generation of the QRs. I understand the design is non-uniform in nature, like we have different aircraft from different fleet. We have Su-30s from Russia, we have Hawks from Britain, we have Rafale, Mirages from France. So I do understand that is a non-uniform issue I do understand that. But we have to find a solution to it. So when we did a reverse engineering of these items, we realized that the architecture is more or less similar. Though the hardware deployed is different in nature, but the functionality remains common. So we realized that the efficacy is definitely possible through indigenization. Because we realized that our inventory is ever spreading because of various countries getting involved. So we also realized that our cross-fleet utilization of various components between the fleets is very, very rare. We cannot use a French component on a Russian aircraft or a Russian component on an aircraft which is from Britain. And the final challenge that we face is that we do not have any TOT from Russia or from France or from Britain for the aircraft, and neither do they give circuit diagrams of the components of the avionics items that they have supplied. So that is where the biggest challenge lies, wherein the entire thing has to be reverse engineered, the circuit diagrams have to be restudied, and the entire circuit diagram has to be drawn through the industry partner. Now, since we are giving the problem, the solution also has been formalized in terms of the modular open source architecture, which is MOSA, wherein we are talking about a universal avionics architecture using which our op capability will increase, our inventory management will of course reduce, and training on these items would become much simpler for us. These items would be software design controlled. Therefore, the integration would of course be easier as compared to the older generation aircraft. The upgradation would be possible, and REACH certification would be very, very easily possible by tweaking the software. So the approach is by classification or the item cataloging, wherein we have devised a method and divided the items into two parts, which is complexity based. The second is the functionality based. In complexity based, we have kept the demarcation as a complex item, a simple item, and sensors. And similarly, functionality based, we have gone to RF based processing, a computing unit processing, that's signal processing, and third is the sensors. It can be analog or digital. Because of this demarcation, what happens is the bigger players can go in for complex items. The smaller players in the industry can approach through simple items or smaller sensors or small signal processing units, etc. And the bigger players can go in for a bigger solution. Just some indicative figures of the item cataloging that has been done by us. As on date, these are our requirements. I'll be covering the details in subsequent slides. But talking about the numbers, the complex aggregates are at 133, simple aggregates are around 85, and sensors are around 40. Now lots of industry partners ask about how do you register firms. So as far as 9BRD Pune is concerned, we, based on the infrastructural facilities, tech competence and financial standing, we request companies to come and register with us. So they will submit DPM 5. The email ID for 9BRD Pune is as flashed, karamveera.indg@gov.in. So through this, you can mail us and get in touch with us. We have a contact number also available in the last line. Based on your documents, we send a team for inspecting your premises. Because in certain cases earlier, it had happened that though the industry partner had said that we have our office at that particular location, however, it was found that that address was spurious in nature, or else that industry was just working from a garage. So because of that reason, we had to get on with a physical verification of the site, which has started off a year back. Then we give the firm a registration number, which is valid for the next 3 years. The advantage of this registration number is that based on a registration with one particular BRD or any particular BRD across Air Force, this registration number can be quoted for any DRDO organization or any Air Force organization, any Army organization, or for that matter, any Navy unit. Based on this registration number, they will also give you a much easier registration as compared to the entire process getting followed again. The renewal of this is possible by approaching the concerned depot who had given you the initial registration. And the extension is given on the development orders, the inputs from the quality assurance, and the procurement agencies. Now talking about the future opportunities for the industry, first I'll be talking about the requirements that 9BRD, specifically Pune, has. So first of all, we are doing a case of replacement of the air data computer of the Mi-17 choppers. So this is more or less a signal processing, group one is signal processing. So group 1 talks about signal processing. Air data computer is a computer which calculates all the air data sensor inputs of the Mi-17 helicopter. This project is in the tune of 200 to 300 crores, just for your better assimilation. Then we are talking about is replacement of a converting and computing unit. This is again a signal processing unit of the Mi-17 chopper. This is approximately in the tune of 150 to 200 crore rupees. Then we have an orientation and indication unit for the Mi-17 aircraft. This is in the tune of 120 to 140 crore rupees. Then we have 3 groups combined in the form of Group 6, which is talking about sensors, gyros, and landing lights for Mi-17, serial number 4. This is a 200 plus crore project. Then we have replacement of signal processing units of MiG-29 aircraft. This is similar in nature as serial number 1. However, this is now MiG-29 aircraft. This is also in the tune of 200 to 300 crore rupees. Then we are in the process of replacement of RF processing units of MiG-29. This is in the tune of 300 crore rupees. All these projects are getting published on the DefProc site. This is not on GEM, this is on Defense Procurement, CPPP. And all these RFPs are going to get published in the next 2 to 3 months maximum. Similarly, going ahead, we have replacement solution for avionics systems of MiG-29. Then we have replacement solutions for avionics systems and components of MiG-29. And then we have replacement and refurbishment of avionics of MiG-29 Group 5. These are mainly power supplies. So all the power supplies of MiG-29 need to be replaced. This is in the tune of 100 crore rupees. Coming to serial number 10, we have replacement of FGM transmitter. This is basically an ILS kind of a system for the MiG-29 aircraft. This is in the tune of around 250 crore rupees. Then we are looking at ROH for those people who cannot go into replacement and designing solutions. We have a repair contract for 56 lines of Su-30, Mi-17 and IL-76 fleet. So the line details are as flashed. 6 lines of Mi-17, 29 lines of Su-30 and 13 lines of IL-76. This is in the tune of 300 to 350 crore rupees. All these projects are also going to get published in the next 2 to 3 months on DefProc, CPPP. Some of the generic nature items which are in the pipeline and which will be coming up in next 6 months or so. Those are multifunctional displays for various fleet. Then we have LRUs in terms of gyros, power supply units, transducers and inverters, autopilots and fly-by-wire systems, some simulators for aircrafts, radar. In terms of radar, Pune, we are in the process of publishing one simulator on GEM. This is going to be on GEM. That's a small buck project in the tune of 1.5 to 2 crore rupees. This will get published in the next 1 month or so. We are also looking at PCBs repair and also production of cables and harnesses. Coming to the aircraft structure, we are looking at manufacturing of canopies and windshields for various aircraft. There are certain low technology items also in terms of nuts, bolts, washers, split pins, sealings. We have got fuel, hydraulic, pneumatic pipelines, various types of brackets for holding the pipelines components, the control surfaces of various aircraft, the main and tail rotor blades for helicopters, the drop tanks, that is the fuel tanks for the aircraft. Coming to aero engine, we are looking at compressor and turbine blades, the aero engine bearings, the seals, the high temperature glues, the high temperature paints and other consumable maintenance materials. Tools and testers are always a requirement for the ground support equipment. Various aircraft tires and tubes. Few fleets have already got Indian tires developed. Now we are in the process of indigenizing tires and tubes for Hawks and Jaguars. The certain part tasking of ROH activities, as I covered in the previous slide, these are all future maintenance, repair and overall contracts in terms of armament and in terms of various equipment fitted in the aircraft. Certain other miscellaneous areas, we are looking at indigenizing lots of aircraft antenna. Then we have requirements of fuel oil and FOL, that is fuel oil and lubricants. Lots has been done by MSAV oil, but many of the lines are still being indigenized. There are certain fuel filters which are required in huge quantities, because every time we have a 25-hour servicing of an aircraft, a 50-hour servicing of an aircraft, all the filters have to be changed. So the scale of these items is huge. The requirement is huge because one aircraft every 10 to 15 days has to get all these filters changed. So the scale of this project is massive. Then we are also looking at indigenizing the aircraft batteries. Like we have certain Rafale batteries to be indigenized, we have Apache batteries to be indigenized. These are also going to get published in the next 1 month or so. Now coming to the way ahead, we have certain suggestions from the industry in terms of, as a user partner, we would like to give certain, maybe you can say advice from our side, or you may say certain tickers from our side that we have been finding not lacking, but yes, we would definitely like to give this as an input to the industry so that we can go along together cordially. So first of all is stick to domain expertise. Certain times it has so happened that we have found a mechanical guy coming and bidding for an avionics project, and at the end of 1 year, because we do give for all the avionics items minimum 1 year to an industry for developing it. But we realized that after 1 year, in case if that item fails, because the company itself did not have a domain expertise, and it thought it'll do hand holding with somebody else and get the thing done. But unfortunately, after 1 year, we realized that we are back to square one. Focus on technology need not be re-emphasized. Third thing is, don't try to do everything yourself. Please tie up with other industry partners. Though we can have one front end, let one person be the face. Others, please support. Have back-end tie-ups so that you are not trying to do everything yourself. If your expertise is avionics, stick to avionics. If your expertise is mechanical, stick to mechanical. If you want to bid, but please get a partner along with you. Do an MOU so that you do not falter later on. Now for industries, we have started off flexible payment terms, which is milestone based. Earlier, lots of industry partners had a problem with respect to that we get all the money at the end only. So now in the RFPs, we are including a clause wherein it's milestone based. You submit the PDR, that's a preliminary design review, we give you an amount. You submit the critical design review, we give you an amount. You submit the bill of material, we give you a certain amount, so that the industry partner does not suffer. Try and develop universal solutions so that it becomes helpful for us also. Adopt COTS items. As of now, Similac has also brought out an SOP talking about usage of COTS items on avionics LRUs, on system ground radars, in aircraft also. So now even Similac, for that matter, does not have a problem in certifying COTS items. So please make use of COTS items. And lastly, need not be re-emphasized, please don't use Chinese products, because that's a strict no-no from the government of India. So lastly, I'd like to conclude by saying that the existing provisions need to be harnessed by you all. Please embrace technology with out-of-the-box innovations. Of course, indigenization efforts have resulted in improved availability, but we need to continue with the same. And primary aim of self-reliance is still a work in progress, and better results can only be achieved through synergy between us and between you, the industry. And lastly, I would like to thank MCCIA for giving me an opportunity to portray our requirements and be able to share it with you in the industry. I hope I've stuck to the time. Yes, I have. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great to hear the comprehensive presentation from you. We would like to please felicitate you with a little token of gratitude.
audible. Tell me. Yeah, TOT is transfer of technology.
Okay, and
Because what
costs?
happens is that whenever we get an item from abroad, we generally want transfer of technology, but no foreign vendor gives a transfer of technology to us. Because the moment we have a transfer of technology, we'll be able to kind of reverse engineer it. So all the avionics items of various aircraft does not have a circuit diagram given along with it. We have the aircraft, we have the block diagram. For example, the aero engine, and we have the compressor unit, but that's it. Now we know it in that way only. What is there inside? That's why we are struggling with the Kaveri engine, because we do not know what is inside. Though we have tried to cut open an engine, tried to reverse engineer, but the metallurgy involved is too complex. And had we known the metallurgy, the composition of the metal that they are using, then it would have become a cakewalk for us. Similarly, for circuit diagrams of various PCBs, they do not share any circuit diagram. They just say that this PCB is using an RF filter. Now this circuit is for the MFD. That's a multifunction display. So now you keep guessing what is there inside it. So now reverse engineering that becomes a problem. Had we had a circuit diagram to give it to our industry partners straight away, that this is a circuit diagram, so then copying and pasting it becomes very, very easy.
Saves time.
Sorry?
Time is saved, yes.
Yes, time gets saved. However, when we talk about reverse engineering now, the entire circuit has to be kind of studied from scratch. And it's not a single layer PCB, there are multi-layered PCBs. There are 3, 4, 5 layer PCBs, sandwiched PCBs. You can't even open it and study the circuit diagram. So those are certain areas wherein it becomes very, very complex in nature.
And full form of COTS, as you said.
Yeah, for COTS, commercial off the shelf.
Okay. And one question I have is, like, as you mentioned, you have problem with the OEMs due to the current conflicts. But if a vendor or a merchant provides you with another, say, certain product, wouldn't that be a violation of the OEM's patent or copyrights?
No, that's why we do all this international activities only past the contract period.
Okay.
Like, for example, like Sukhoi 30 for that matter.
Okay.
So when you're talking about Sukhoi 30 now, HAL is manufacturing certain items. But HAL also does not manufacture everything himself. They are getting things done through the industry. However, HAL at times what happens is that when we want certain items, they're not able to give it to us in time. That's why looking at industry partners to get parallel vendors wherein we do not suffer in terms of leverage in time.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me.
Hi, sir. Sir, I just want to understand, let's say, the technology in radar, which is, let's say, largely built by BL. And again, they're taking support from other players as well. So I just want to understand, let's say, how much of a radar is made by BL, and what is the let's say, major component they make in-house. And some product they take from outside, maybe from Data Pattern or Astra Microwave. So what that portion would be?
See, as far as, since you're talking about a radar, I'll tell you specifically, radar, as far as radar India is concerned, any magnetron of a radar, which is the main microwave power emitting source, India has not yet been able to manufacture a high power radar TWT. That's a traveling wave tube. So all these come from US or Germany, all the microwave TWTs, which is the main emitting source for the radar unit. Otherwise, rest of the items, yes, India has been managing quite well through the industry and certain imports also. But like if you talk about Rohini radar, which is so-called indigenous, it's around 65 to 70% indigenous. Yes. That's made by BL. The rest of the items are imported.
Yeah, good afternoon. Rajesh here. Two questions, sharp and short. One is, if the industry partner needs to know more about the range of aircrafts and the other auxiliary things that go into an aircraft to help you make better products in the MRO section, how will we come to know more about the aircrafts and what is the source for that?
In terms of, you are talking about international requirements?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there is a thing that we need to know, like for example, Sukhoi is having these dynamics, MiG has some other dynamics, Rafale may have some other dynamics. So how does the industry partner come to know about all the different dynamics of individual aircrafts? How do we interact?
see, first of all, I give you the contact number and that mail ID. This is the mail ID and contact number for Air Force Station Pune, India. I am heading the Indigenization section of 9 BRD, 9 Base Repair Depot, Pune. So, similarly, there are other Air Force stations, other BRDs, which have subsections in terms of indigenization. So, like we are doing all avionics aggregates pan Air Force. Similarly, some other base repair depot is there who is doing only mechanical items, like Nasik. Yeah. Nasik has got a BRD, it is only doing mechanical items. Similarly, we have Kanpur, who is doing all engines. So, this is our domain. Now, whatever our requirements exist, we all send it centrally to Air Headquarters, that is Delhi. They publish it on website www.indianairforce.nic.in. In Make in India. Once you go to this website, there's a Make in India block. Click on that. There you have indigenization requirements. And then you have got various BRDs and Air Force stations which have specific boxes on which you can click, wherein that website will show you only those requirements for that particular BRD. For example, if you are stationed in Bangalore, or for that matter Kanpur, and you want only the tenders of that particular area to be seen, you can filter it accordingly, and you'll get the indigenization requirements of that particular area, or that entire region itself. That was.
Second, last but not the least, industry partners will agree. You said about the bidding process and the purchase procurement process, and the final thought that everybody will come to know is L1 gets the order. So how do you expect to get the best at the lowest? Hard question, but I'll wish you all the luck.
I do understand that's Government of India policy, can't help it. But I'll tell you one thing, that though we go into getting L1, even today L1, at times it so happens that the L1's rate is also very high. It's not like I've been here since 2 years plus now in Air Force Station Pune, and I've been looking after this section only. So my initial experience for the first 6 months or so was that the industry partners used to bid very low. So at times it used to so happen that our actual expenditures sanctioned, the L1 used to be very, very low. But now that there's a drastic change in the past 1 year or so, wherein we are seeing that the person who has L1 is somewhere near our bidding amount. So gone are the days when the industry partners have also become very, very smart. And of course, they also have to understand that as far as defense is concerned, we will not be able to accept anything that is subgrade. Our functional testing and all is, of course, very tough. I'm telling you very frankly, because we deal in all big buck projects. So had it been an item which is 30,000, 40,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 10 lakhs, still there would have been some amount of thought process, it's a small item, chal jayega. But once you're going into crores of rupees, I talked about 200, 300 crore projects. So those are very complex projects, and our functional testing is through Semilac. And Semilac, those of you who are dealing with Semilac, you will understand, they will ask about each and every material details of the PCB, the sourcing of each and every transistor, the sourcing of each and every PCB, each and every microprocessor. They will ask the material analysis of each and every wire that you are using in that particular PCB or component. They'll ask you about composition of the metallurgy that you have used. They'll ask you for all NABL accredited labs reports with respect to thermal cycling, thermal shock, vibration, acceleration. So at the end of it, only when all these tests pass do we accept that component. That's why, though L1, we have to take it with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, there's no compromise on the quality at all. Thank you. Anybody else? So, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We invite all of you to please join us for networking lunch. The arrangements have been made in the room outside opposite this auditorium. Thank you so much.